I'd like to welcome each of you to the 2018 City of Akron Holocaust Arts and Writing Awards ceremony. This year's theme, Lessons of the Holocaust, the Lives of the Children, elicited incredibly moving and well-researched responses from 361 local students, with an additional 13 entries coming from Chemnitz, Germany. We recognize and celebrate these students and their teachers today for their committed study, critical reflection, and remembrance of the millions of lives and achievements lost and disrupted by the atrocities of the Holocaust. Today marks our 30th anniversary of this contest and the 32nd anniversary of the commemoration ceremony. Please help me welcome the new director of the Akron Summit County Library, Pam Hickson Stevenson, who I believe is just beginning her second week on the job.
Thank you. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to welcome all of you to Main Library in beautiful downtown Akron. We are extremely pleased to partner with the city, all the educators, the students, the committee members, everyone involved in this important and moving commemoration of the Holocaust, an event, of course, that we should never ever forget. So thank you for attending. I look forward to watching the ceremony and particularly to hearing the comments of our featured speaker later. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam, both for your warm welcome and for the use of the library. We're honored to have both the ceremony and the exhibit within this incredible space. As the elected leader of Akron, Mayor Daniel Horrigan has continued to embrace the Holocaust Arts and Writing Contest and commemoration, following in the footsteps of his predecessors, Don Pasquale and Tom Sawyer. We're grateful for that commitment. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Horrigan.
Let me be the third one to welcome you to downtown, to the library. I want to thank Susan Yingling and the chairwoman of the steering committee, all the steering committee members, the Akron Summit County Public Library for hosting us again, and all of those who've made this program possible over the last 3 decades, in fact 32 years. It gives me great pride to know that our contest is one of the longest continuously running programs of its kind in the country, and we intend to see it continue long into the future. I and my staff are currently working with the steering committee, the Jewish Community Board of Akron, and County Executive Eileen Shapiro to expand the partnership and see that this contest thrives for another 30 years. Together, we are very confident that it will. Perhaps, I think more than any other time in our history, society needs to be reminded of what is possible when we stop seeing each other as human beings, worthy of dignity and respect. And as Eli Wiesel said, peace is our gift to each other. We have to continue to engage our youth and to ensure that the gift of peace is passed down to future generations. Thank you, and I welcome all of you again.
Thank you, Mayor Horrigan. To present our awards this evening are 2 long-serving members of the Holocaust Committee, Michael Durr, who's the event supervisor here at the library, and Barb White, who's the library's neighborhood services manager. Mike and Barb.
Good evening. Thank you again for joining us in beautiful downtown Akron. Our first winner is Brielle Sojourner, first place, Visual Art, Division 1, Miller South School of Arts. Emery Fleischer, second place, Visual Art, Division 1, Miller South School of Arts. Athena Hughes, third place, Visual Art, Division 1, Miller South School of Arts. Emma Gibson, fourth place, Visual Art, Division 1, Miller South School of Arts. Braden Szyminski, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, the Lippman School. Sylvia Stillman, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, the Lippman School. Sam Wagner, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Hudson Middle School. Ethan Kohler, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Miller South School of Arts. Alexia Andrachik, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Hudson Middle School. Benjamin Ralph, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, the Lippman School. Giovanna DeJuric, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Miller South School of Arts. Piper Kozlowski, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Miller South School of Arts. Mackenzie Smith, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Hudson Middle School. Jude Jovichin, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, the Lippman School. Ryan Suidam, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Hudson Middle School. Ian Wingeter, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Hudson Middle School. Eleanor Varner Waltz, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Miller South School of Arts. Cadence Kish, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Miller South School of Arts. Sydney Stevenson, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Miller South School of Arts. Andrew Benninghoff, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Miller South School of Arts. Stella Hudson, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Miller South School of Arts. Justin Weichert, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Hudson Middle School. Ryan Capano, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Hudson Middle School. Natalie Carter, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Miller South School of Arts. Lucy Canterbury, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Hudson Middle School. Natalie Negrelli, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Hudson Middle School. Anya Wraith, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Hudson Middle School. Katie Morehouse, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Miller South School of Arts. Eleanor Smith, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 1, Miller South School of Arts. Moving on to Division 2, we have Maria Manuel, first place, Visual Art, Division 2, Firestone High School. Nina Wolf, second place, Visual Art, Division 2, St. Vincent St. Mary High School. Maya Miller, third place, Visual Art, Division 2, Firestone High School. Malia Clark, fourth place tie, Visual Art, Division 2, Firestone High School. Kaylee Anthony, fourth place tie, Visual Art, Division 2, Firestone High School. Nia Wolf, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 2, Field High School. Michael DeLisis, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 2, Springfield High School. Cassie Westfall, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 2, Mogador High School. Yaeli Israeli, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division 2, Woodridge High School. Isabel Davis, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division II, St. Vincent St. Mary High School. Ashley Strub, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division II, Firestone High School. John Paul Workley, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division II, Archbishop Hoban High School. Baylor Alden, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division II, Firestone High School. Eden Amador Gorby, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division II, Springfield High School. Chance Marks, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division II, Firestone High School. Brooklyn Hendrick, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division II, Firestone High School. Macy Hurst, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division II, Springfield High School. Hannah Verslice, honorable mention, Visual Art, Division II, Firestone High School. Martha Chestnut, first place in the Writing Division, Division I, the Lippman School. Sherry Dew, second place Writing, Division I, Hudson Middle School. Rashay Scott, third place Writing, Division I, St. Mary Parish School. Chevelle Grissom, fourth place Writing, Division I, St. Mary Parish School. Lainey King, honorable mention Writing, Division I, St. Matthew Parish School. Julia Noble, honorable mention, Writing, Division I, Hudson Middle School. Writing, Division II, St. Vincent St. Mary High School. Jared Busey, second place, Writing, Division II, St. Vincent St. Mary High School. Claire Murren, third place, Writing, Division II, Our Lady of the Elms. Gabriella Hagee, fourth place, Writing, Division II, St. Vincent St. Mary High School. Molly Haynes, honorable mention, writing, Division II, St. Vincent St. Mary High School. Caroline Peer, honorable mention, writing, Division II, St. Vincent St. Mary High School. Congratulations to all of our winners. We'd like to thank Mayor Horgan and Barbara Turkeltaub, our speaker this afternoon, for handing out our awards. Thank you so much.
This evening we're honored to have with us Dorothy O. Jackson, Akron's Goodwill Ambassador, long-serving member of this committee, community advocate, and friend to all. Here to present the Best of the Best Award is our own Best of the Best, Mrs. Dorothy Jackson.
So much. Good afternoon, and Mayor Horgan and our guest speaker. What a pleasure it is for me to be here with you. I've had the privilege of coming for the last 15 years, and I'm certainly glad that they've never asked me to be a judge, because it would be impossible. You'd be here with all winners, but the Best of the Best Award goes to our writing winner, Olivia Janola from St. Mary High School, St. Vincent St. Mary.
Yeah, I didn't know I had to do this, but
She's such a hard worker, I couldn't let her get away.
okay, well, first off, I just want to thank, I want to thank my family. They're like sitting right there. My parents and my brother. Thanks for coming out and being supportive. And to Mrs. Bradley especially for helping me like improve my writing skills, and Mrs. Gottschalk last year at APAS. Like that was really rough, but it's definitely helped out. And like I want to shout out like everybody who participated in the contest. Like yeah, like they were all really good. My parents and I went down and like looked at everyone's like different like artworks and like read everyone's stories, and those were really nice. And yeah, so like thank you to everyone who came out and like supported. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. Congratulations again, Olivia. Terezin was Hitler's model ghetto, the site of a 1944 Red Cross inspection, and housed 15,000 children between 1942 and 1944, with less than 100 surviving. With its high proportion of artists and intellectuals, culture flourished alongside starvation, disease, and the dread of transport to the death camps. The children's poems and writings are reminders of what no child should ever see. Thank you, Mr. Stewart and the concert choir. To share this evening's invocation, I'd like to welcome Rabbi Alyssa Joy Austerklein from Bethel Congregation.
In honor of Yom HaShoah, communities around the world gather to remember the systematic persecution and murder of 6 million Jews and millions of other innocent people from a variety of ethnic, religious, and national backgrounds. At this Holocaust Remembrance Service, we will hear from a Holocaust survivor to learn about the lasting impact and relevance of the Holocaust on Jewish families and on modern society. Through music, prayer, and candle lighting, we commemorate those who perished. Nonetheless, there are times when words fail us or are insufficient. This is why we try to express our sorrows and our longings through art and music. We aim to give voice to those who have been robbed of theirs. In Judaism, for times when words are insufficient, we have the sound of the shofar. That sound, the blast that comes from a ram's horn, does its own kind of communicating, echoing the tears of generations. Especially when addressing the Holocaust, tears must also be honored as a language itself. We all know the dehumanizing reality of the Holocaust. The oppressed and the oppressors lost dignity. But we cannot let the memory destroy us. Instead, we must take on the mantle of the highest sense of what it means to be a human being. We have the capacity to recognize rather than to dismiss, to include rather than to exclude, to see our own face in the face of others, and perhaps, if our hearts may be moved, to see the face of the Holy One, Baruch Hu, in each soul.
Here to introduce our guest speaker is Esther Hexter. Esther is a founding member of this Holocaust Committee and really someone I look up to. Her wealth of knowledge, passion, and commitment extends far beyond our community. Esther.
Thank you, Susan. How does one introduce a friend? I have the privilege and pleasure to share a little bit about Barbara Turkeltaub, a child survivor of the Holocaust. She is from Canton and in Stark County and the last living Holocaust survivor. We are many years after the war, you know. She was born in Vilnius, or then called Vilna, Lithuania, to a seamstress and an accountant. She was barely in grade school when the Nazis marched into her hometown. Her family was soon hoarded into a Jewish ghetto, surrounded by armed guards and barbed wire, while living in deplorable conditions. Somehow, Barbara and her sister Leah were smuggled out by their mother, who arranged to have them live with a Christian family on a farm outside the town. And I'll let her tell you what it was like for the family to shelter them. During the next few years, Barbara and her sister Leah began a remarkable journey through fear, faith, hope, and survival. Barbara Turkeltaub has been active in Holocaust education for many, many years in the community. In December 2015, Walsh University honored her with an honorary doctorate degree in human letters, and I was there to see her get it. Very well deserved. In addition, her testimony inspired Ohio Governor John Kasich to propose a permanent memorial at the Ohio State House, and if you ever go to Columbus, you must see it. The Ohio Council and Liberators Memorial was built and dedicated to honor the survivors and liberators who made Ohio their home, with the hope that the future generations never forget what so few live to tell. Please join me in welcoming my friend, Barbara Turkeltaub.
It's easy. I need some notes so I don't deviate from take too long. Yeah. I was born in the worst of times and in the worst place under the sun, right in the middle of Europe, Poland, Lithuania. Holocaust. If you look in the dictionary, it will tell you that it's a complete destruction by fire. However, the dictionary will not tell you the horrific things of Holocaust. It will not tell you how the terrible pain inflicted on innocent people, for men, women, and children, innocent people. Oh, it was that in dictionary you won't find it. Some years ago, I attended a world gathering of Holocaust survivors in Jerusalem, Israel. It was held in a large auditorium. And in that auditorium, they put up tables against the wall. And above each table, there were names of the cities and villages of Eastern Europe where most of the Jewish people lived. With great anticipation, I thought that I will find somebody will know what happened to my relatives and family and extended family. When I walked in, I saw right away, the people were gathering around the tables there, and they placing on the wall, they placing the pictures and telephone numbers and addresses, still hoping to find somebody with some information what happened to their loved ones. I walked to my table, Vilnius, where it says Vilnius. There was nobody there. I was a little bit jealous because at the other table there were still people. There were around quite a few people. And here is no one. Well, I still waited, and I thought that somebody pretty soon will show up and perhaps give me some information. I stood there for half an hour. For an hour, I walked around the auditorium. Nobody came. Nobody came, nobody. There was no pictures, there were no addresses. It was void of everything. And I walked away with pain in my heart and tears on my face. And I was thinking, how could it be Vilna, that's a cradle of Jewish culture? People came there to study. They had these universities and high schools, and it came from all over Europe to study there. Vilna that produced so many famous people, writers, poets, philosophers, famous rabbis. What happened? What happened? What happened? Where are they? It's like they ceased to exist, like it never was. I tell you that I just kept asking the same question myself and trying to figure out an answer, and there was no answer. I was about 5 or 6 years old. I don't remember a lot of things, but I'll tell you what I do remember. I will never forget, and sometimes I hope that it will go back in my mind and maybe I won't try to forget, but I can't. I remember a very nice day on. First of all, I want to tell you about my family. I had a lovely family. I had a father who was an accountant. My mom was a seamstress. Our grandfather lived with us. I had 2 older sisters, and I had 1 younger. And I had a brother that was born quite a bit later. So, we were a happy family. We were just middle-class family, like any of yours family. And things began to happen. And I remember playing one Sunday morning. It was a beautiful day. We're playing outside. I wasn't really playing. I was sitting on the bench and watching the others playing football, which actually wasn't. We call it football, but it was soccer. And one boy kicked a ball, and it fell into a ditch. And I thought, well, this is my chance to participate. So I ran after the ball into the ditch. At that moment, all of a sudden I hear a horrible noises like thunders from heaven. And when I looked up, I saw planes flying very low, and bombs started to fall on the playground. And when there was a sunshine and laughter and play, all of a sudden debris were falling all over the place, and it was dark. I have never seen the children after that. I heard somebody calling my name, but I was clutching the ball to my chest and I couldn't move. So somebody grabs me and carries me away, and that, of course, my father. Things begin to happen very quickly. I remember standing with my father watching the soldiers, the Nazi soldiers were marching in Vilna. Unfortunately, the Lithuanian population greeted them with flowers and cheers. Things began to change very quickly. We were not allowed to walk on a sidewalk. We had to walk in the gutter. We're not allowed to be outside only after 5 o'clock. We had to be inside. People were coming to our homes, stealing and looting, and we were supposed to sit quietly and not to say one word, because that was the law of the land. That's the law. You can come into Jewish home and you can take anything you wanted. Now just think about it. How would you feel if somebody comes to your house and starts taking things away, and you have to sit quietly, because if you don't, you will be shot on the spot or killed with a knife or something. So we had to sit and watch how things were taken out. They were looking for silver, they were looking for gold, they were looking for money. The degradation of character, the shaming, beating, killing, it was every day happening. In Vilna, Vilna was a very large city, very similar to Akron. It was 250,000 people lived there, and 80,000 Jewish people lived there. And more than half They were killed before they were murdered in very famous forest Ponari, and that was before the concentration camp, before anything. In that famous forest, that's where the rest that was left, we were hoarded to ghettos. Now, ghetto, it's not like you know, when I came to the United States, they told me that there is a ghetto here someplace. And I thought, my goodness, here we go again, what are you talking about? But then I found out that ghetto here is a place where people live with lower income financial thing, and however they can go any place they want, they go to school, we could not even compare. So the ghetto, the life in ghetto was sheer hell. It was barbed wire all around, and some places brick walls. Every few meters there was a Nazi soldier with machine guns. You could not get out of ghetto. So often I stood behind the barbed wire and I saw other kids were playing out there. And I thought to myself, why am I here and they are there? What have I done? What have I done that I cannot play there? Why am I here? Forever, nobody was ever answering this. I still don't really know. The stench of rotting bodies and sewer was all around. All kind of diseases, the hunger, the starvation. It's absolutely unbelievable. I remember one time Nazi soldiers came, were in a truck. They came in the truck and they came out and with lots of dogs, the German Shepherd dogs. And the older man was sitting there and covered with prayer shawl, towels, and they let the dogs on him, and the dogs were ripping him apart, while the soldiers were laughing and making pictures and laughing. I was so scared, I was so frightened. I ran fast to our little room that we had and tried to hide in a dresser drawer, and shaking and thinking that any minute those dogs will come up and do the same thing to me what they have done to this older gentleman. It was absolutely. Also, there was a children's center, sort of. I call it children's center because I don't know what else to call. School were not allowed. You were not allowed to have any school there. So there was a building, wooden building, a little bit far from the main road, and a few bushes around. And there were a lot of kids over there. Mostly parents that were working slave labor near the ghetto factories, and they left the kids over there. One day, and the only incentive to go to that place is we got slice of bread with a little bit sugar on top. And we couldn't, there was nothing going on in the center. We didn't have anything. We didn't have pencils, we didn't have paper. So the teachers, there were 2, sometimes 3, and sometimes even 4, they were singing songs and trying to dance, holding hands and going around. But nothing else was going on really there. So one day, I saw buses drove in, about 3 or 4 buses. They looked strange, like a school bus, but they didn't have windows. The windows were shut, like with some kind of a board. And out of the buses, German Nazi soldiers came down to the building, and they talked to the teachers. And the teachers presented them with some kind of a paper. I assume that was the names of the kids or something. And then the Nazis went back to the buses and opened up the doors. And soon after that, I started to hear that they calling the names. Now, I don't know if they called my name or not, but when I saw that, I had a feeling that this is not a good thing. This is not a good thing. So I quickly took my sister by the hand. I said, "Come on, Leah, let's go out. We'll play hide and seek." And we hid against in the back of the building, on the side actually of the building, there was a few bushes there, so behind the bushes. And I was watching the little children, 2 by 2, were walking to the buses. And I'll tell you, I never can forget this. It's always in my mind. There were some children, they were too little to get on the steps. So the older children were helping them to get to the buses. And when the buses were full, they drove away. I don't know what happened to the kids. However, that evening, the parents came and they were looking for the children, and the terrible cry of mothers and fathers calling their names, calling them, the cry of desperation. And I heard my mom was calling Basha, that's my pet name, Basha, and I answered her, I'm here. There are not all the children, there were some children left. So that evening, my father, they took us home, and that evening my father put me on a stool, kneeled himself to my level, and he says to me like this, "Basha, listen to me. I need to tell you something. It's not pleasant, but I have to tell you. There is a terrible war going around. And for us to survive, we have to separate. We have to separate. I will go with your sisters in one place. Your mom is going to be here hiding. There is a hiding place for her. And you will go to your foster parents, and you know them. You know this man because he was used to deliver the milk and milk products to our house. So you know who he is. You will be there with your sister, not for very long. We will come and take you. This thing is going to finish pretty soon, and the war will be over, and we will come and pick you up. I want you to remember never ever to say your last name. Our last name was Gorwitz. That's a very Jewish name. So never say your last name. If somebody asks you who are you, you say you are Barbara. This is my sister Leah. Bomb fell on our house, and we don't know where everybody is. And then after that, don't say nothing, not one word. No matter what anybody asks you, you just look straight into their faces and say not one more word, nothing. And so the separation from parents was so painful, I cannot begin to tell you. My parents probably paid off the Nazis that stood by the entrance there, and probably paid quite a bit for this for our foster father. And he came with a horse and buggy with lots of hay in the buggy. He picked my sister up and took me by the hand and covered us and told us to lie down quietly, cover us with hay and with burlap, and told us to be very, very quiet. As we were walking away, my mother stood there and cried and prayed, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, my Lord, why have thou forsaken us? And and we drove, and the village that the man was living very close to the city, I remember very well, and I remember the name of the village. It was Virshulishki. So and so he had six children, yeah, all boys, are very nice, quite a bit older than we were, very nice boys, very nice young men. And I think they were afraid of their father because they were always very quiet, and before they went to school they had to do the chores, so they had to be up like 6 o'clock in the morning or maybe before and do the chores. Then they went to school, then from school they did the chores again, and there was a small period of time where they were doing their homework. They were nice kids. My sister was struggling with this. I was struggling with that too. So they were trying to help us. They were good kids. So one day, and when we were there, we were not in the house. They didn't let us in the house. We were living in the vestibule, where part of the fireplace was there. And the fireplace that they were cooking, actually, the part of the fireplace was big. And on top, they put a mattress made out of straw and a pillow, and we had a blanket, and it was very nice and warm there. So we felt comfortable. Certainly, it was much better than ghetto. So So I don't know how long we were there. I can't tell you. I only can tell you when it was snow. I know it was winter. When it was sunshine and warm, I knew it's summer, but I didn't know exactly how long, maybe several months. One night, when we were already on the fireplace, I overheard the foster mother talking to her husband, and she tells him, it's too dangerous to keep them over here. You take them tomorrow when you go to flea market. Flea market was usually held on Fridays. If you take them to Gestapo, and you'll get something, I think sugar beets or something. So as a reward. So take them to Gestapo. I didn't know exactly what Gestapo was, but I knew that it's not good because I heard before that Gestapo is killing and shooting and all those things, and so I knew it's not a good thing. So I decided that I'm going to run away. Well, how do you run away? With my sister is not so easy. She was a little girl and she was always hungry. Always hungry. She won't eat. So I thought I'm going to bribe her with food, and while she's eating, I'll just take her. So I snuck into the pantry and I sliced bread, which that was also a struggle because they bake bread for a whole week, and it's the size of half of the table, like over here. It's huge. So that was to slice a bread like this. It was a challenge. Well, I finally did it, and then on my way out, I saw on the shelves there were honey, and it was covered with the cloth cover. So I opened up and I took the honey and I put it on bread. And I came to my sister, I put the shoes on her, and I said, Leah, come on, look what I brought you. Oh, she woke up quickly and she started to eat the bread while we were going down. We snuck out and I looked at her and I see that the bubbles are coming from her mouth and from her nose and from everywhere. And that was not a honey, that was a soap that I gave her. So I thought my sister is going to die any minute now. I want to take away this from her. No, she wouldn't give it. She kept giving that. So, so we were running. How far, I cannot tell you. Listen, it was dusk already, and I don't know how far can two little girls run. I don't think it was very far. But we came to a place where there was a brick factory, small brick factory, and there was like an igloo where it was still warm. So we sat down there, and I guess we fell to sleep because it was warm. And I had no idea where to go. It was only one country road. There was nothing there, cobbled road. After a little while, I hear horse's hoofs. So I looked up, and I saw a priest sitting on a horse and buggy, with a horse and buggy, and he was going towards the village. And he looked at us, but he didn't stop. And so we went back to sleep. And I don't know how much time later, probably about an hour, maybe a little longer, I hear again the horse's hoofs. I looked up, and again the same priest is going back. So I looked, and he stopped this time and came down to us and smiled. He had such a nice smile, a young man, and he asked us what's your name? I said, my name is Barbara, and this is my sister Leah. A bomb fell on our house, and I don't know where everybody is. That's like a litany. I repeated what my father told me. And so he picked us up. He said, would you like to come with me? Sure, very much so. And so he put us into his buggy. He covered us with blankets there. He had blankets. And also hay. Everybody, I guess, were driving with hay, I don't know. and we drove, and we came, and he brought us to convent. We felt safe. The nuns came to the gate and picked us up quickly and brought us there and gave us a bed and put our clothes, because what we were wearing, it was awful. We didn't have any. So they had a lot of problems with my sister, because before we left the foster parents, one day when we were sitting at the table, eating, starting to have a supper, my sister couldn't wait till the prayers, so she picked up a piece of bread, and the foster father got angry and threw a knife at her, and it slit her right here. He probably would do the same thing to his own children. They were afraid of him. The boys were afraid of him. I could see that now. And so it got infected. One of the boys brought a towel and put it on her head, and that became infected, and she really didn't have any hair. It was all over the thing. So the nuns started to treat her. And the way they were treating her, I'll tell you, this is really something. They're putting pieces of linen on her head, drenched with tar, and then they were pulling the linen off. The screams and the cries. I thought to myself, my sister survived the bubbles, and now she's going to die from this treatment. So however, they did heal. She did heal. It took probably a year or so, and she grew a beautiful dark brown hair. We were there. We were taught reading, writing, and arithmetic. They assigned to us one young nun, novice, and Sister Kutila. I remember she was very nice. Sisters, exactly, the nuns were not exactly hugging or kissing or anything. As a matter of fact, they were very quiet and they looked like they ignored us. They didn't. They were very good to us, but it was very quiet and very, anyway, so we were being tutored in catechism, and we were baptized, and we were confirmed, and if my mother didn't find us, you would be talking to a nun now, I guess. Well, anyway, while we were there, Nobody bothered to tell us that the war is over. That was 2 years later that I found out the war is over. And that's something. Anyway, one time the priest comes and he tells me, Barbara, there is a lady, a woman that is looking for her children. And she has been going from house to house to house. She's looking for her children. Would you like to come and meet her and see her? And let me tell you, I was very comfortable in convent. I really didn't want it. And I was secretly, in my heart, was angry at my parents very much because my father told me that they're going to come and pick us up, that this is going to be very short time, that we're going to be not separated for such a long time. I didn't understand what was going on. I really didn't know. So I didn't really want to see anybody. But then he came, he didn't insist it, but then he came again and again, and then he says, Barbara, it's a shame the lady is crying and looking for her children. So I said, okay, I'll come, and I came to the office. I remember my mom, I wish I can show you the picture. She was a very beautiful woman. She was tall and had a beautiful hair, and she was beautiful. And here I see a lady sitting with a scarf on her head, gray hair, and didn't look like my mother at all. And so I came to her and I said, I'm so sorry that you can't find your children. I hope you will find them. And I took her hand and I say, I hope you will find them. And I started to walk away. And while I was walking away, I hear the voice, my kind, ich bin deine Mama. My child, I'm your mom, I'm your mother. And I recognized her voice. I did recognize her voice. I turned around and she embraced me and she cried and I cried and we both cried, you know. And then he brought my sister, and it's so strange. My sister, I thought, will not remember, but she bonded with her almost immediately. And so my mother, after, not right away, but it took a few weeks, then she took us to her apartment, that she had a little apartment. We came to this apartment, and I see a little boy about 4 years old there, very good looking actually, looked like my mom, you know, and but so unruly, terrible child, terrible. So she says, this is my brother. My brother, I give him back from where you took it. It's a terrible child, you know, and. The Vilna was liberated by Russian soldiers, and among the Russian soldiers there was a high-ranking officer. I remember his name, Blumkin. He is the one that helped my mother to get my brother from wherever he. You see, my mother was I should have told you this before. My mother was hiding in the sewage system of Vilna. And there were 20 other young women there with babies. They were giving them to suckle the opium, the poppy seeds, so they would be quiet. But one child didn't help, and he was crying, so they were discovered, and they were taken out of there. And the Nazis told them that they're going to go to work. Don't worry, we'll be taking you to work. Don't worry. And so but as they living Vilna, my mother saw right away that they coming to the famous forest called Ponari, and she knew that they're going to be executed, they're going to be murdered. So she left my brother in a little basket by the it's a forester house there, and a few bushes. She left him over there, thinking that whatever happens, you know, maybe somebody will take him. And he was asleep. He was so full with this opium, so he was sound asleep. And so this Officer Blukin helped my mother to get him back, and he told her, "You can't stay here in Lithuania, you have to get out of here and I'll help you with your papers. Get out, go to Poland, go to Poland." And so my mother and all of us, we came to Lodz, Poland. And my mother didn't want to stay in Poland either because she was afraid. But before, we were there for about a year or so until she got all the papers together, and she sent us, now think about it, she sent us to the most Orthodox school, Hebrew school, from convent to the Orthodox Hebrew school. I honestly, you know, so she wanted us to know who we are, what we come from, what is it. However, there I learned Hebrew, I learned Jewish history, and I learned what happened. I learned what happened, and I became a very angry teenager. I didn't like. I thought to myself, my goodness, what? Why this hatred? Such a hatred. And so my mother made, after that, she made papers for us to go to Israel, so we emigrated to Israel, we came to Israel. Israel accepted us with open arms, but it was very, very challenging there, very challenging life, it wasn't easy. But my mother and I, we felt safe. And there I met my husband. He came to visit his sisters. My husband also survived several concentration camps and lost most of his family in all different camps. But he did have two sisters in Israel that came many years before the war, and they were there, and they were our neighbors, so that's how I met him. And we got married, and I came. He was living in Canton, so he came just for visit there. So we got married, and I came to Canton, and we lived most of our lives in adult life in Canton. And I'm very, very happy to be alive. I raised a beautiful family. I have my son, Mark, and I have a daughter, Esther, and I have 3 grandchildren, boys, and I am very happy to be alive, very happy to be here. It's such an honor to speak to you, and I love this country with all my heart, and may God bless United States with His choicest blessings, and may He bless you, all you. And make the world a better place. Make the world. It's the future is in you, and whatever you make it better than you found it. And I thank you.
We have been in a space of greatness. Thank you, Barbara.
She was just a child when Nazis marched into her hometown. Her crime? She was Jewish. Today, Barbara is the last living Holocaust survivor in town, but continues to take a stand against prejudice and hatred.
A priest who put his life on the line to save 2 little girls, 2 little Jewish girls. One man can make a difference. We cannot pretend we don't see, we don't hear, we don't know. We need to take a stand. Because history can repeat itself. It can happen to any group of people.
very special short movie was made by Barbara's son, Mark, who has been gracious enough to share it with all of us. And the URL is at the bottom of the page in your book, if you want to look at it again. Because of the braveness of survivors like Barbara Turkeltaub, we are able to have a tiny witness of history. One of the things that is part of the Jewish tradition, every year on the anniversary of the death of a family member, you light a memorial candle. It's called the Yard Site Candle. And it's become possible and popular when we have commemorations such as this to light candles in memory of the 6 million Jews, men, women, boys, and girls who were slaughtered in the Holocaust. In Akron, we have added a 7th candle, and that is to thank all the righteous people who helped save people like Barbara. We have asked our first place winners to come and light the candles, and we will leave them lit till the end of the evening. Thank you. We're going to come back and sing one more piece from I Never Saw Another Butterfly.
Special thanks to our accompanist this evening, Mr. Chad Pittman.
contest, ceremony, performance, trip, and celebration. As someone who makes everything come together in a smooth, coherent, and meaningful way, who takes care of the small stuff as well as the big stuff, I'd like to introduce you to that person, Claire Heason, our Holocaust contest coordinator.
So I'm not usually the one who speaks, I'm usually the one running around, but today I'm going to announce the international winner. So since 2014, the City of Akron's Holocaust Arts and Writing Contest has teamed with some of the City of Akron's international sister cities, and we've had their students create art and writing pieces to share with our community and our students, which is something really special. These cities send their best visual art and writing pieces to us. And the writing pieces are amazingly, they're written in English, which is not these students' first language. It's a real privilege to get to read and see some of their artwork. And then we have a panel of judges that judges those pieces separately from Summit County students' pieces. This year, the Akron sister city of Chemnitz, Germany, sent us 12 original art pieces and 1 writing piece. Both are in middle school and high school levels. And a panel of judges placed all these pieces according to their quality and each of their categories. All of these pieces, along with what they placed, are in the book that you have received tonight, and they're all down in the art show down in the main library area. These pieces were beautifully crafted by all of these students, and you can tell all the hard work that went into all of these pieces. And these will all be on display until May 3rd here in the library. To create an interaction between the international students and Summit County students is something really special that we get a privilege to get to do. This year we had our Summit County student winners choose their favorite piece from the international pieces, and that will be the Summit County Student Choice winner, and we'll notify them when we send all of this stuff to them. The piece that the students chose was the piece, the Visual Art International piece, first place winner in Division 2 from Chemnitz, Germany, Knock on Fan. The name of the piece was Sun's Tears, so if you get a chance to go down there and look at it, it's a beautiful piece, and they will be notified that they have received that honor from all of you wonderful students. So thank you, students, for taking the time to go down there and look at all the pieces from Germany, and I hope we will be able to continue and grow this relationship with our sister city of Chemnitz, Germany. Thank you.
Special thanks to Dr. Terry Albanese, Billy Soul, and Ron Niederman as well for their commitment, not only to the committee but to our international friends. Last year, while viewing a civil rights photography exhibit at the Maltz Museum, I was taken aback by an SPLC map that pinpointed 892 exposed hate groups active within the United States. These are organized groups whose beliefs or practices attack or malign an entire class of people for their immutable characteristics. Over the past year, I've kind of watched that documented number grow to 954, including but not limited to 10 Holocaust denial groups, 121 neo-Nazi hate groups, 71 racist skinhead groups, 100 white nationalist groups, 72 KKK groups, and 28 neo-Volkish groups. Here in Ohio, 31 hate groups have been exposed. Our commitment to Holocaust teaching is still pertinent and increasingly important. For 30 years, teachers in the Akron area have devoted and dedicated class time to teaching the Holocaust. That systemic, organized, and state-sponsored hatred, persecution, and murder of 11 million individuals, including 6 million European Jews, by a group of people who felt themselves to be better than anyone else. For 30 years, this committee has rewarded that teaching, student research, and the production of artistic and literary interpretations. In 2 weeks, The first place winners, along with their teachers, will visit the United States Holocaust Memorial, Museum in Washington, D.C., but more importantly, will hopefully leave with a clear understanding of the State Department's 2008 report that history has shown wherever anti-Semitism has gone unchecked, the persecution of others has been present or not far behind. Defeating anti-Semitism must be a cause of great importance, not only for Jews, but for all people who value humanity and justice. I'd like to have all the Holocaust Committee members stand, please, and remain standing. All of those who are present, thank you. I'd also like to ask all former committee members to please stand. All past and present contest judges, all past and present winners and their families, all past and present winners and their families, everyone who ever submitted a contest entry, all current and former teachers, please stand. All contest supporters and donors, please stand. All committed staff from the Mayor's Office, the library staff, the Shaw JCC, Pat Catans, and anyone else committed to fighting hate and advocating tolerance, please stand. Look around. It's through your collective strength and commitment that these awards have continued for 30 years. And together it is our collective voice that will overcome the hate that still permeates our society. It's the work created by these students, inspired by their teachers' lessons, that will continue to bring awareness of suffering and humiliation at the hands of bigotry, hatred, and violence. Thank you for joining us here this evening. And may this year's commemoration and days of remembrance remind us that we still have work to do. Rabbi?
O Holy One of blessing, we cannot conceive of the horrors which we remember today. No words, no reflection can do justice to the atrocity which we witnessed and we call the Holocaust, the all-consuming fire which burned the hearts and minds of humanity and laid precious souls to final rest. We cannot find rest with the knowledge of this horror. We join with you in pain at the misguided action of your creation. We call out to you and look to you as our hope. Sovereign of the universe, we call on you to help us as we push on the possibilities and limits of forgiveness. Our tears are your tears. Let us resolve to teach our children the way of justice, and in so doing, lift up the souls which perished for no cause. We shout never again as we fear history's repetition. We fear our own weakness. We shy away from conflict. We are silent. But we learn that we must speak out. We cannot be indifferent to suffering and oppression in the world. O God of wonders, you have created us in your image. Let us be the best examples of this truth. Let us engage in bringing out the beauty of each individual and the purest in ourselves. Blessed are you who has endowed humanity with the great capacity for goodness. Va'ani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon, Elohim berov chasdecha aneni v'emet yishecha. Let my prayer, O God, come before you at a time of acceptance. In your abundant mercy, answer me with your true salvation. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, our rock and our Redeemer. And let us say together, Amen.
That concludes concludes tonight's celebration and commemoration.